This is your weekly moment of growth.
Hope you guys are doing super well. I wanted to share a message with you that I picked up on when I was in a convenience store this morning buying a bottle of water. And I was listening to a conversation between an older gentleman and the woman behind the counter. And the older gentleman was playing the lottery. So he was getting tickets for the lottery. And he said to the woman behind the counter, "You can't win if you don't play." And that alone really kind of hit me. I was like, wow, that is so right. Not about the lottery. I don't highly recommend you go out and buy lottery tickets. Don't go playing scratch-offs all day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about life. And I'm talking about if you don't show up to life, you won't win. 0% chance of winning. And it really kind of resonated with me because I realized when I started showing up to things, when I started to show up to live events, when I started to show up to small networking events, when I started to show up as my best self in the podcast, I started to win. Now, I didn't win all the time, but first I had to show up. And although that old gentleman was talking about a lottery ticket, I realized that that is life. And you have to show up to things that you don't necessarily want to show up to. You have to show up to things you might not be able to afford right now. You have to show up to be in the right room with the right people and to truly go all in on your life. You have to show up for your clients. You have to show up for your dreams, because if you don't, nothing's going to come of it. That is not where this convenience store wisdom ended. The woman behind the counter then shared a story about somebody who made a mistake while they were buying lottery tickets, and it made them have to pay extra money in order to balance out what was happening in the cash register. And the woman goes, because she made that mistake, she ended up winning $250 in the lottery. And I just said out loud, wow, I wish I could make that kind of mistake. Jokingly, just to kind of put myself in a conversation. That's me and it's awkward, but I do it. And I started to think about that, and I realized that all of my mistakes have made me the money that I make now. It was my mistakes that led me to financial entrepreneurial freedom. It was my mistakes that led me to travel the world. It was my mistakes that have led me to doing all the things that I'm doing. And I realized that in this short back and forth between this old man and the woman behind the counter, I learned two great lessons, or I should say two lessons were pointed out to me about life. And that is, you have to show up. That's the first step, show up. And then you have to make mistakes. Because if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. You see, I've had many failed businesses, relationships, friendships. I've lost all of my money. There were times in my life where I was eating hot dogs and Kraft mac and cheese because that's all I could afford. There were times where I went to go buy a slice of pizza and my debit card got rejected. I've had the failures, but I learned from every single one of them. So when you fail, be grateful for that failure, because that failure, I promise you, will lead you to your financial freedom. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me for a couple of minutes, and I'll see you next week.